Welcome to the DOGE Diaries, diving deep into government efficiency.
Hey everyone, ready to talk some government tech?
Let's try to keep it realistic, though, all right?
Absolutely. So, we've got this whole situation with the new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, as they're calling it. It's wild to think they're actually using that name, isn't it?
Wild, but also kind of catchy, right? Like, everyone's going to remember that name. I'm still not sure what it actually means, though, beyond a meme.
It's definitely a choice. I'm just hoping they're more focused on actual efficiency and less on the novelty.
I think we have to be optimistic, you know? I see it as a chance to do things totally differently. We're talking about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy at the helm of this thing, both tech disruptors. It's like they're saying, let's take the way startups innovate and apply it to government.
Okay, but a startup and the US government are worlds apart. A startup fails. Okay, you try again. Government fails. It's a disaster for millions of people. I'm not sure the move fast and break things approach is right for, national services.
Exactly. You can't just apply Silicon Valley's mindset to the federal government. There's a reason things are slow. It's built to be a check and balance system for our citizens. You have to account for all the factors and not just move quickly for the sake of moving fast.
But think of the potential. This article talks about them targeting the $100 billion the government spends annually on IT, most of it going to these old systems. Imagine how much more efficient things could be if they streamlined all of that and replaced it with AI systems and modern tech. I mean, you'd cut costs, streamline everything.
I get the appeal. I really do. Nobody likes bureaucracy, but AI, in charge of government services? I'm not sure how I feel about that. What happens when that AI makes a mistake, or when it's biased? Are we all just going to have to get used to being on hold for hours with some robot AI instead of some human person?
And let's be realistic. The government's IT infrastructure is notoriously complex. These systems aren't just some app you can rebuild in a few weeks. We're talking about things that handle national security, financial transactions, healthcare records. It's not about finding the newest tech, it's about having something robust and reliable that will work for everyone, not just the tech savoy.
But that's where the brilliance of someone like Elon comes in. He's all about solving complex problems. It's not just about slapping a new UI on top of an old database. It's about fundamentally redesigning these systems. And it's not just about cutting costs. It's about improving service quality as well. Imagine using an AI to help people navigate the tax code. For example, it could simplify things for everyone.
Okay, that tax thing sounds good, I have to admit. I mean, everyone hates taxes, right? So that part makes some sense. But how are we going to know these AI systems are actually fair? It's a big leap to trust a machine with something as important as our tax situation or health records or anything personal like that.
Exactly. The problem with AI is that it's based on algorithms, and those algorithms are written by humans. So it's still biased and will only work on the data it is trained on. And these new systems are going to need constant updating and maintenance. We're not even close to having foolproof AI. It feels more like creating a bigger headache down the road.
Right. But the article also mentions how much of the government's tech is old and vulnerable to hackers. I mean, that's a huge national security risk as it stands now. It's not like the old systems are better. This could actually make things more secure in the long run. Also, this Davis guy sounds like he's all about cutting the inefficiencies, right? That article, the one about Elon's go-to-guy for cost cutting, that's key. It's not just about tech. It's about making the whole system leaner and more effective.
I saw that too. It said he even slept in the Twitter offices with his family. That's intense. But if he's so good at cutting costs, what exactly is he cutting out? Are we talking layoffs, less services for normal people? How is this going to affect me as a normal taxpayer?
That's exactly my concern. The article mentions that he's been involved in some regulatory issues and some lawsuits from the neighborhood, and even fines from workplace safety regulators. I mean, does that seem like the type of person we should be trusting to run our government agencies? Sounds more like a liability. Also, the article mentions that the DOGE has no official budget or staff. Sounds like the whole thing's a setup for failure.
Okay, but that's the point, isn't it? They're trying to do this in a different way, without the usual red tape and bureaucracy. And if you look at what they've done in the private sector, it's been really disruptive. They've built rockets that go to space. They've built electric cars. They've dug tunnels. We shouldn't dismiss that track record. And if this is really about efficiency, which is the stated purpose, that could benefit everyone, not just the wealthy.
I guess I see what you're saying. But it also feels like they are doing a bit of an end run around all the normal checks and balances. If they just bypass the rules, what's going to stop them from, cutting corners where it will actually hurt regular people the most? It always seems like the poor get hit the hardest.
And the potential conflict of interest is huge. This Musk guy has a ton of his own companies, and now he's going to be in a position to influence the government policies that affect those companies. It's kind of like letting the fox guard the hen house. And I'm not really comfortable with the idea of unelected billionaires and their people making decisions for our government. We have a system for a reason, and those people were elected, not just handpicked by the president.
But what if we could have a system that actually worked better and more efficiently? The article also mentioned bipartisan support for this initiative, right? It's not just some partisan thing. Democrats are saying they want to work together to make government more effective. It's like, finally, some common ground. Why can't we dream of a system that's not just cheaper, but also faster, more responsive, and more convenient for everyone?
I guess the bipartisan part makes me feel a bit better. Maybe they won't go totally off the rails. I'd love a more efficient DMV. Who wouldn't? But I think I'll believe it when I see it. I still have flashbacks to standing in line for hours just to renew my license.
Bipartisan or not, the details matter. And what I'm reading is that this DOGE is trying to skip a lot of the procedures. It sounds like they want to bulldoze their way into these agencies. I get the frustration with bureaucracy, but we shouldn't get rid of rules for the sake of speed. Especially not when you're talking about something as important as the federal government. We need to make things work incrementally, not try to uproot the whole system with some technology that isn't foolproof yet.
I think it's about finding that balance, right? Yes, we need regulations, of course, but also we need to be open to innovation. We can't just keep doing the same things and expecting different results. And this idea that they're going to be replacing old systems, that's really important. The article mentioned a Legacy IT Reduction Act. That's exactly what we need. So you have both cost-cutting and security all in one go.
That Legacy IT Act sounds like a good thing for sure. It's about time they updated some of that stuff. I remember when I was dealing with my student loans, the website was like something from the 90s, so I'm down with that for sure. I just hope they're not cutting the funding for things that will impact regular people to make it work, like public schools or roads and such.
The problem with these acts is that it is always good on paper, but it's never as effective as intended. Most of the time, it's just political rhetoric. We should be focusing on getting these old systems fixed with real budgets, not just trying to replace it with something new and unproven, especially with some unvetted people at the helm who may have their own agenda.
Well, let's just see what happens. This is obviously a big project. I just hope they can make the changes for the betterment of everyone, and not just the mega-rich.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess, but I'll be keeping a close eye on this one. We have to, especially with Musk and his crew calling the shots.
I'll be watching too, for different reasons. I'm very skeptical about this whole thing. I just think it is better to improve what we already have than try to tear down and rebuild from scratch with people who are not experts in government. This feels more like a recipe for disaster.
Well, thanks for discussing it, guys. It's certainly something to keep an eye on. Let's all try to keep an open mind and see what these DOGE folks come up with.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to say the least. We'll check back in on this in the future.
Indeed. And if it falls apart, I'll be the first one saying, I told you so.